The husband had just returned home. When he noticed a doll sitting at the dining table, his wife had even prepared a meal for it. It turned out that since their 5-year-old daughter passed away, the woman had taken the doll she bought from an antique market as her spiritual sustenance. She not only took it on family trips, but also hung eerie parent-child photos all over the house. She even pushed the doll around in baby stores, scaring the shop assistants half to death. Before long, the woman and her husband had a second child. The doll was discarded in a corner and gradually forgotten. When their youngest daughter turned 5, strange things started happening one after another. The little girl suddenly began muttering to the doll. Small, unexplained wounds kept appearing on her body. The couple finally realized that something was wrong with the doll, but they soon found that no matter what they did, they couldn't get rid of this terrifying doll. This is a chilling Japanese horror movie. Suzuki Yoshi and her husband Tadahiko have a happy family of 3. On this day, their 5-year-old daughter May invited several good friends to play games at home. Yoshi decided to go to the nearby supermarket to buy snacks. She carefully told her daughter, then put away the dangerous knives, checked that there was no water in the bathtub, and only then left the house with peace of mind. However, on the way, she met a masked uncle walking towards her house. Yoshi felt a little uneasy. She quickly finished shopping and checked out. Several mothers around were talking about strange people loitering around the community, and the school had even sent an email to remind them. Upon hearing this, Yoshi became even more worried. She finally got home, but all the children in the house had gone home except May, who was nowhere to be found. The couple hurried to call the police. After the police left, they sat in the house. Yoshi accidentally dirtied the tablecloth, so she quickly took it off and stuffed it into the washing machine, but there seemed to be something inside the drum. A year passed in the blink of an eye. Since that crazy night, Yoshi had never bought another washing machine. She washed all the clothes by hand. The couple were overwhelmed by grief and couldn't pull themselves out of it, especially Yoshi, who felt more regret and self-blame than anyone else. If she hadn't gone out, her daughter wouldn't have been trapped in the washing machine and suffocated to death. Her mother-in-law said there was a temple nearby, holding a memorial ceremony for the deceased, and recommended Yoshi to go check it out. A strange wind blew away the leaflet, and Yoshi chased after it, accidentally wandering into an antique market. The leaflet was hanging on one of the stalls. Yoshi pulled it off and was about to go home, when she noticed a doll that looked similar to May. It felt like a sign from fate. She immediately bought the doll and took it home. When Tadahiko got off work, he heard his wife humming a song, and saw that she had prepared dinner with a smile on her face. He thought Yoshi had finally come around, but when he turned around, he saw a doll sitting at the dining table. Yoshi had even prepared a meal for the doll, although Tadahiko thought it was a bit weird. He figured it wasn't a bad thing as long as his wife was happy. In the following days, Yoshi carefully dressed and groomed the doll, and even trimmed its nails. She gave it the same hairstyle as May. She dug out her daughter's old clothes, pouring all her unfulfilled maternal love into the doll. Tadahiko consulted a senior doctor, who said this could be regarded as a form of doll therapy, which is very beneficial for psychological recovery. For example, animal dolls can alleviate the pain of being neglected, and lifelike baby dolls can improve cognitive impairments. Tadahiko thought that as long as it could make his wife get better, he didn't care about the strange looks from others, and this special companionship did help Yoshi gradually get out of the darkness, regaining her vitality for life. She even found the courage to buy a new washing machine, though this time it was a vertical drum one. As time went by, Yoshi and Tadahiko welcomed their second daughter, Mai. The focus of their lives shifted to the newborn baby. The once cherished doll was left in the corner of the room, forgotten by the couple. On this day, Mai kept crying non-stop. Yoshi fished out the doll from the pile of toys, placed it next to her daughter, and then went out to chat with her mother-in-law. Mai suddenly cried even louder. When the two went over to check, they found that the doll had fallen on top of Mai. Yoshi quickly picked up her daughter, while her mother-in-law found a strand of long hair on Mai's neck. She was confused to find that the hair didn't come from the doll, but to be safe, the couple found the doll's box, put the doll inside, and stuffed it in the corner of the wardrobe. 5 years passed, and Mai was now 5 years old. On this day, she climbed deep into the wardrobe to look for her glass marbles, and found the doll hidden inside. Mai immediately hugged the doll and ran to show it off to her mother. Yoshi was shocked to find that the doll's hair had grown longer.
昔の日本人形は人の髪の毛が使われてるからちょっとずつ伸びるらしいよ。
誰の?
Yoshi immediately grabbed the doll's hand, only to find that its nails had actually grown longer too. The next day, she found a mess of long hair all over the floor while cleaning. At this moment, Yoshi heard her daughter talking to the doll, claiming that the doll's name was Aya. In the evening, Mai crawled into her mother's bed, saying she didn't want to sleep with Aya anymore. she keeps pulling my hair, it really hurts. Yoshi didn't take her daughter's words seriously. She simply carried my back to her room, then placed the doll on a high cabinet, telling Mai she wouldn't have to be afraid now. The next day, Rina, a friend from my school, came over to play. The two girls immediately ran into the bedroom to look for the doll, since Mai had been showing off that her doll could talk, but Rina didn't believe it, and even pounced on the doll to twist its arm. Yoshi was entertaining Rina's mother in the living room, when she suddenly heard screams coming from the bedroom. Moments later, Rina ran out and threw herself into her mother's arms, with several bite marks on her arm. Yoshi was furious when she saw this, scolding her daughter for doing such a thing, but Mai insisted that it was Aya who bit Rina. Yoshi didn't believe her. How could a doll bite someone? She grabbed Mai and told her to apologize quickly, which ended up making both girls burst into tears. However, Rina's visit reminded Yoshi of Mai for the first time in a long while. She took out photos of her eldest daughter to sort through, telling Mai, "This is your older sister."
前お姉ちゃんなんかいないもん。
なんでそんなこと言うの?
Later, Yoshi heard her daughter running around in the room. She was about to tell her to be quiet, when she saw that Mei's photo had been scribbled over with black ink. Yoshi was extremely angry. She pulled off the paper bag that Mai had put on her head, only to find the doll sitting in the corner. Mai heard the commotion and ran to find her mother, but was dragged to the bed and questioned about the photo. She hastily explained, "It must have been Aya who did it." Yoshi's anger flared up even more. How could this child keep lying like this? She grabbed Mai as she tried to run away, accidentally scratching her daughter's arm in the process. The next day, Yoshi went to consult Mai's kindergarten teacher, who explained that Mai's connection with Aya was an extension of role-playing games. Believing in fantasies and telling repeated lies are common issues for children of this age, so there was no need to be overly concerned. However, Mai drew a very terrifying picture in class, which did require the parents' attention. The teacher had asked her why she drew it that way, and Mai replied that Aya had taught her to. That night, after Yoshi fell into a deep sleep, her daughter sneaked into the bedroom again and crawled into her bed. Yoshi instinctively touched Mai's hair, but the texture felt odd. She turned on the light and was shocked to find the doll in her arms, although her husband said Mai must have brought it over. Yoshi grew more and more frightened of the doll the more she thought about it. She decided to take action while her daughter was at school, wrapping the doll in a garbage bag and throwing it away. Unexpectedly, she heard a knock on the door just after noon, and then spotted the doll sitting at the end of the corridor. Yoshi was terrified, grabbing a rolling pin and smashing it down violently, but she soon realized the doll was sitting in the bedroom, and what was lying on the floor was Mai. The next second, Yoshi woke up with a start, soaked in cold sweat from the terrifying nightmare. Still trembling with fear, she went to check the door, only to find the doll had really returned to the porch. There was a note from the building manager hanging around its neck, reminding residents to sort their garbage properly. Yoshi let out a sigh of relief. Just then, a garbage truck pulled up nearby, so she hurried over and handed the doll to the workers, watching as the doll was taken away by the truck. But when the truck stopped at the next garbage collection point, the doll somehow fell out. The workers saw it and picked it up immediately, while Yoshi, who was hanging clothes on the balcony, heard an ambulance siren wailing past. She ran to check, and was horrified to see the worker had been caught in the garbage truck's machinery. Emergency personnel at the scene set up a screen to administer first aid, but Yoshi spotted her daughter's figure. Mai was holding the doll, peeking out from behind the screen and looking at her mother. Late that night, Tadahiko noticed his wife wasn't in bed. When he went to the living room, he found Yoshi going through the baby monitor footage, insisting on proving that the doll could talk. Tadahiko looked at his wife with a worried expression, afraid that she was having a mental breakdown. The next day, Mai pestered her mother to play hide and seek, so Yoshi forced herself to cheer up and play along. Mai hid behind the glass door, peeking at her mother, while Yoshi was about to chase her. When she noticed a figure dart into the bedroom, a bulge appeared under the blanket. Yoshi lifted the blanket but found no one there. Immediately after, something scurried across the bed frame and stepped on Yoshi's foot. She was about to lose her temper when she saw her daughter running away wrapped in the blanket. Yoshi chased after her and saw the figure crawl into the washing machine. Terrible memories came flooding back. She mustered up her courage and looked deep into the washing machine. When a girl with a terrifying face pounced at her, Yoshi was so frightened that she threw the figure to the ground, only to discover it was Mai. Tadahiko rushed to the pediatric department when he heard his daughter was hurt. Fortunately, the doctor said Mai wasn't seriously injured, and also asked Yoshi to undergo a physical examination. After sending Yoshi away, the doctor lifted Mai's clothes, revealing her back was covered in bloody scratch marks.
マイク、これ誰がやったの？
言わない、言ったらまたやられる。
Tadahiko suspected that Yoshi, overwhelmed by grief for Mei, had developed hallucinations and harmed Mai. He suggested that his wife be hospitalized for a period of rest and recovery, and reassured her, "Don't worry about our daughter. I've already sent Mai to my mother's house." Upon hearing this, Yoshi anxiously asked, "Did the doll go there too? We mustn't let the doll be with them." Tadahiko finally confronted her. "The doll isn't the problem, you are. Do you know Mai's body is covered in scratches?" Yoshi looked down at her own arms. She did have a habit of scratching when she was anxious. Could she have accidentally hurt her daughter without realizing it? In the end, Yoshi agreed to be hospitalized, but she had one request: please take the doll to a temple to be burned and enshrined. Tadahiko immediately followed up on the arrangements after returning home. However, the temple informed him that the monthly enshrinement and burning ceremony for the month had already ended. They suggested he first take photos of the doll's entire body, face, and the entire box and send them over. When Tadahiko was taking photos of the doll's box, he noticed an inscription on the back, "For my daughter's doll," by Kokichi Yasumoto. Curious, he searched online, and learned that Kokichi Yasumoto was a renowned doll maker from the early Showa era. He specialized in combining the techniques of life-size dolls and ikamatsu dolls, creating unique Polonia wood dolls. Kokichi Yasumoto had also created a custom doll for his only daughter. Tadahiko was about to read further when he was interrupted by a phone call. It was a monk from Jashu Temple calling to confirm after seeing the photos. He told Tadahiko that the enshrinement of this doll should be done as soon as possible, and fortunately, it could just make it to the next day's burning ceremony. The monk would come to pick it up in person, and, until then, he urged Tadahiko to put the doll back in its box. Tadahiko was puzzled by the monk's urgency, so he couldn't help but continue his search online. Several YouTube bloggers had posted videos of their trips to Kanagawa Island in Niigata Prefecture to find living dolls. The urban legend about these living dolls tells the story of Kokichi Yasumoto's daughter, who disappeared in the village many years ago. Although a large-scale police search was conducted, it was futile and failed to locate her. After the incident, Yasumoto's wife was devastated, and could only treat her daughter's most cherished doll as her own child, never leaving it for a moment. This led to her health deteriorating day by day, and she left a last wish to put the doll in the coffin with her. After his wife passed away, Yasumoto buried her and the doll on Kanagawa Island. It is said that the doll later crawled out of the tomb on its own, wandering around just to find its owner. After the blogger finished explaining, they arrived at Kanagawa Island. The island is only accessible to pedestrians once a day during low tide, and only for a period of 2 hours. The 5 of them wandered around the island with cameras, but found no sign of any cemetery. They left just before the tide came in. After watching the video, Tadahiko laughed at himself for overthinking, wasting so much time. Grandma had just put Mai to sleep. She went back to the living room to watch TV, only to find that the water in her cup had gone bad. Grandma hurried to the sink to spit it out, but when she turned around, she saw Mai standing in front of the TV. She thought her granddaughter might want a snack, but as soon as she opened the refrigerator, Mai jumped at her. Grandma carried her to the bedroom. Then quickly called her son, telling Tadahiko that doll Mai likes is almost like it's alive. As she spoke, the old lady locked the doll in the storage room. Tadahiko comforted his mother, telling her not to worry. "We've already decided to take it to the temple to be burned and enshrined." After hanging up the phone, Tadahiko noticed the baby monitor footage his wife had found earlier. When he played it, he saw his daughter talking to the doll. Wait a minute, this place is Kokichi Yasumoto's hometown. Tadahiko rushed to his mother's house by car, informing her, "I'm coming to pick up the doll right now." After the old lady hung up on her son, she heard a thudding sound coming from the storage room. She walked over cautiously and saw the door swinging back and forth. The old lady used a mop to prop the door open, only to find that the floor sweeper was hitting the door. She was about to breathe a sigh of relief when she realized the doll was gone from the floor. Furthermore, Mai was nowhere to be found in the bedroom, and the window beside the bed was wide open. The old lady quickly grabbed a flashlight and went out to look for her granddaughter. She stopped a passing office worker, asking if he had seen a girl with a doll. The office worker replied that although he hadn't seen a doll, he had seen 2 girls holding hands walking toward the bridge. The old lady rushed to the bridge, where she spotted Mai sitting on the railing. She was terrified. Tadahiko arrived at his mother's house only to find the door wide open. Mai walked over pulling the doll, with something red on her mouth. Tadahiko quickly took out a handkerchief to wipe his daughter's mouth. Just then, several police cars arrived with the old lady, and the officers explained that she had seen her granddaughter sitting on the bridge railing. She had tried to rescue her but was bitten by something, and a passerby had called the police after finding her unconscious on the ground. The police pulled up the nearby surveillance footage, which showed the old lady lifting a girl off the railing, but another girl suddenly rushed over, jumped on her, and began biting her frantically. Upon hearing this, Tadahiko hid the blood-stained handkerchief, as he couldn't explain to the police that these strange incidents were related to a doll. No one would ever believe him. After seeing the police off, Tadahiko tended to his mother's wounds, only to find that her watch strap had been bitten off. Tadahiko picked up the strap and gently pried open Mai's mouth, trying to compare the bite marks. Mai suddenly opened her eyes wide and screamed. Early the next morning, the people from the temple arrived. Tadahiko stood guard with a golf club, afraid that the doll would jump out and scare someone again. The monk wrapped the doll in a cloth covered with scriptures, then took it and left. Tadahiko also arrived just before the ceremony began. As soon as it struck 10 o'clock, the abbot led the monks in chanting scriptures and burning the doll. Tadahiko carefully recorded the process, planning to show the video to Yoshi in the hospital, to put her mind at ease. Unfortunately, neither of them knew that the monk who had taken the doll had evil intentions. Upon realizing that the doll was made by Kokichi Yasumoto, he swapped it with a fake, intending to sell the real one to an antique shop. Some of the doll's hair stuck out of the box, and after he casually stuffed it back in, he felt a sudden wave of nausea. The next second, he pulled handfuls of hair out of his mouth. The monk grabbed the handrail, but lost his balance and fell. Passers-by found him and quickly called the police. Tadahiko recognized the monk when he saw him at the hospital. Before he could figure out what had happened, he saw the abbot walking over holding the real doll, repeatedly apologizing. Tadahiko had to tie the doll up tightly with ropes. He then called the expert they had consulted earlier. The expert advised sealing the doll in a box if possible, but the wooden box had already been shattered in the earlier incident. For the time being, the only option was to prevent anyone from touching the doll. As soon as he hung up, a female nurse approached, and without permission, untied the straps around the doll. Tadahiko stopped her immediately, but a child's tooth fell out of the doll as she did so. Puzzled by this, Tadahiko decided to have the doll undergo a CT scan. Something horrific was revealed. There was a complete human skeleton inside the doll. Tadahiko didn't dare delay and called the police immediately. The police wanted to take the doll back to the station for investigation, and Tadahiko, eager to be rid of it, didn't object. He and his wife were about to see the police off, when Kanda, the doll enshrinement expert, arrived with several large bags. He insisted that the police wouldn't be able to solve this problem, but the police officer didn't believe him. He planned to take the doll to the Scientific Investigation Research Institute instead, fearing that something might happen to the officer on the way. Kanda asked Tadahiko to follow them in his car. On the way, the couple couldn't help but ask, "Why is this doll haunting us?" In response, Kanda took out a photo of the doll's box, explaining, "The reason you couldn't read the characters on the box is that they were written for the doll inside. If you flip the characters upside down, you can understand them. It says, 'Free from all misfortunes and afflictions, invoke the power of Guanyin, and the curse shall return to its originator.' In other words, the curse rebounds onto the person who inflicts it." The police officer called his colleague to talk about the case, mocking Tadahiko for claiming the doll was alive. As he spoke, he picked up the Polaroid camera Kanda had handed him. The photo had already developed, revealing a terrifying ghostly face. The officer accused Kanda of playing tricks. Claiming he had tampered with the photo, he casually threw the photo out of the car window. The road ahead was blocked by many barriers due to construction work. The police officer pulled ahead of Tadahiko, and as soon as he entered a tunnel, he realized the doll was gone from the passenger seat. The next moment, a figure appeared in front of the car. The police officer instinctively slammed on the brakes and jumped out to check, but the road was empty. There was nothing there. He knelt down to look under the car, only to be horrified by a girl trapped in the gap between the tire and the car body. The officer comforted her, "Don't worry, I'll go reverse the car right away," but the girl kept crying, "It hurts, it hurts." When Tadahiko and the others arrived, they found the officer hugging the doll and sobbing uncontrollably. Kanda rushed behind him immediately, clapping his hands and chanting, "Six senses purified," under his breath, a Shinto prayer for exorcism. The officer froze in place, unable to move. Kanda snatched the doll from his arms, locking it in a specially made box. The wooden box was designed to restrain the doll's head and limbs, leaving no room for escape. Completely eliminating any chance of the doll getting free, Kanda then contacted a collector who specialized in dolls and researched Kokichi Yasumoto, asking Tadahiko to drive him there. This person might know the whereabouts of Yasumoto's daughter. When the three arrived at their destination, the truth of the story was revealed. The collector explained, "When I was young, I worked at a police station in a village in Niigata Prefecture. One day, a man claiming to be Kokichi Yasumoto came to turn himself in. He said that while his daughter Aya was believed to be missing, it was all a lie. Aya was in poor health, unable to go anywhere. Her mother felt sorry for her, and tried to kill herself along with her daughter. That's the inspiration behind my terrifying drawing. But the hemp rope snapped halfway through, and only Aya died a tragic death. When Yasumoto discovered what had happened, he tried to cover up his wife's crime by applying Polonia wood paste to Aya's remains, then inserting real human hair and nails to complete the doll. Later, as per his wife's last wish, he placed the doll in a coffin and buried it on Kanagawa Island. In other words, the skeleton inside the doll belonged to Yasumoto's daughter Aya, since the master's works were always in high demand. Unscrupulous people in later generations dug up the tomb on Kanagawa Island and stole the doll, and after changing hands multiple times, it ended up in an antique market where Yoshi bought it. Now Kanda planned to go to Kanagawa Island to return Aya to her mother's side. As a mother herself, Yoshi understood the pain of being separated from one's child, so she volunteered to go with Kanda. Upon hearing this, Kanda warned, "That place is extremely dangerous," but Tadahiko dismissed his concern. He had watched YouTube bloggers explore the island, and they hadn't encountered any ghosts or monsters. Tadahiko even remembered the blogger's channel name, something like Spiritual Battle Team. Yoshi searched for it online, pulling up the footage of their island exploration. Kanda, with sharp eyes, suddenly pointed out, "Haven't you noticed? There were 5 people when they went to the island, but when they left, including the blogger who was filming, there were 6. Tadahiko felt a chill run down his spine after hearing this. Before long, the 3 arrived near the island, renting 2 rooms at a roadside inn to wait for the tide to recede. In the meantime, Kanda set up an altar and opened the box containing the doll. A foul stench immediately filled the air. Kanda hung a copper ball above the map. The ball spun in a circle, then came to a stop at a specific spot on the map. This was Kanda's way of locating the tomb. Just then, the room began to shake violently, and the lights went out immediately. Tadahiko tried to leave, but found the door locked. Kanda told Yoshi to pick up the camera and take photos. As the flash kept going off, they could see the doll transform into a little girl, getting closer and closer to them. In the end, Tadahiko managed to cover her with a bag. Kanda rushed to help but was pushed to the ground, accidentally stepping on a nail. Because of this, Kanda had to go to the hospital to treat his wound. Leaving the task of burying the doll to Yoshi and Tadahiko, Kanda handed them a metal detector, explaining, "Coffins from that era were usually inlaid with 6 mon coins, so you can use the metal detector to find the location." There was no time to waste, so the couple set off immediately. They first found the approximate area based on the map from the night before, then used the detector to search. Since the low tide window was limited, they had to work quickly. They dug up several tombs one after another, and finally found Yasumoto's wife's tomb. However, Mei's photo accidentally fell into the tomb. Yoshi couldn't bear to lose the only intact photo of her daughter, so she jumped into the tomb despite her husband's objections. But the spell confining Aya had already lost its power. The doll slowly crawled out of the bag. Yoshi was shocked and scrambled toward the entrance, but the doll grabbed her ankle and refused to let go. Fortunately, Tadahiko outside grabbed his wife just in time, pulling her up to safety with all his strength. Before the couple could catch their breath, Aya from the tomb suddenly grabbed Yoshi's hair. In the nick of time, she smashed the photo frame, using the shards of glass to cut off her hair. It was as if Mei had saved her mother once again. Afterward, the couple returned home. Mai shouted mommy and rushed toward Yoshi, who hugged her youngest daughter and fell onto the sofa, only to feel her being hugged tighter and tighter. She grabbed a mirror from the table and held it up to her daughter. And sure enough, a terrifying ghostly face stared back at her. Tadahiko didn't hear his wife's warning. He smashed open the washing machine with great force, trapped in an illusion, unaware that he was still on Kanagawa Island. At this moment, Tadahiko picked up a child from the washing machine, only to find that it was his eldest daughter, Mei. Mei walked toward the frantic Aya and pulled the girl away from her mother. Only then did Yoshi truly escape from the tomb. Afterward, the two left Kanagawa Island, and the family of 3 seemed to return to a normal life. But Grandma called Kanda, saying that her son and daughter-in-law had been out of contact for a whole week, and hadn't come to pick up Mai. Upon hearing this, Kanda picked up the baby monitor, only to find footage of Aya crying to Mai, "Mommy hits me every day. I want Mai's mommy."
しまった。私
私たちは間違っていた。アヤは母親を憎んでいる。人形はあの島に連れて行ってはいけなかったんだ。
The couple pushed the doll, passing by Mai, who was in Grandma's car, unaware that they had mistaken the fake for their own daughter. The movie ends here. It combines the thrills of Ju-on, The Grudge, Child's Play, and The Exorcist in one go. It keeps delivering twists and turns right up to the final scene. While the plot itself isn't particularly original, the director makes full use of the home environment to create all sorts of terrifying elements, delivering a truly immersive and terrifying experience. Overall, it's well worth watching.